Well, hello everybody. In my 18 years as a theater professor and 25 some odd years as an actor-director, this is the first time I have followed a Red Lobster. I'm going to pass that restaurant and think something totally different now. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about something that's so near and dear to my heart, the growth and out of control, in a beautiful way, growth of the Anne Frank Project. The Anne Frank Project started as a diary that you all know, the Diary of Anne Frank. Grew into a production, a play production. I'm a theater professor at Buffalo State. And now it has beautifully taken me by the nape of my neck and my students and run us around the world in this positive world change, positive social justice effort called the Anne Frank Project. The reason that it's done that is because the power of something that you've just experienced, which is the power of storytelling. You know, we talk about the theater, and it's interesting. I'm a theater professor, and I really don't like the term theater. Theater has a connotation that we buy tickets, we come in, we sit down, we watch a show, we're entertained, we either go thumbs up, thumbs down. Well, this whole idea that theater as an entertainment vehicle is brand new historically. Remember theater 7,000 years ago in Mesopotamia? They used to call the shaman in to storytell, to say, please, gods, give us rain for our crops, give us fertility for our family. How will we succeed and survive the next day? Or when they would travel from clan to clan and village to village. Taking stories with them was not entertainment value, it was necessity. It was how we are expressing the human community. So today, rather than talking about theater, I want to talk about storytelling. Storytelling. And the essence of storytelling. Remember, historically, storytelling was the unifier, the connector. What connects us as human beings? When we tell stories, we're comforted, we're healed, much more than just pure entertainment. When you are sick or your child is sick, Mommy, Daddy, come to my room. We come in, we soothe them with story. At the end of the tsunami in Japan, Japanese are storytellers. They brought in a comic storyteller based on the theme, the old-fashioned technique of Rokoko, which means comedic storytelling. And this incredible storyteller in Japan went from village to village because he knew that was medicine. That was medicine to salve the wounds of this incredible tsunami, this horrific event. And his comment was that if we don't get the stories out, if we don't verbalize the story, then we take them to bed with us, and they show up in our nightmares and our dreams. What we have found with the Anne Frank Project and the power of storytelling is that it dares us to wrap ourselves around these large ideas that maybe the pure narrative, the prose, paragraph form, maybe that doesn't have the power to wrap itself around the narrative, the metaphor. So stories dare us to activate the big ideas. The flood, right? The story of the flood and Noah. The story of defining ourselves. You know, it's raining today. There's a huge storm out. It has destroyed our village. Gods, why? The Greeks asked all the time, en masse. Why? Why does this happen? God, who am I in relationship to the gods? Now theater is much more about who are we with each other, interpersonal. But I try to teach our students that theater is much more than that. That theater is how we redefine ourselves. Theater is how we wrap ourselves around large ideas. And what we did is we wrapped ourselves around my favorite storyteller, Anne Frank. This little girl, 12, 13, 14 years, who spent 2.5 years hiding in an annex because she was Jewish, hiding from the Nazi regime, writing books, writing poetry, and writing a diary. A diary that's been translated all over the world to share her powerful message. In spite of everything, I still believe people are good at heart. This is a story that she did not have a chance to finish. I take that personally. I take that personally as a human being. I take that personally as a professor. I take that personally as a father, as a husband, that I have an obligation to finish her story and to continue her story. Look what she said in the midst of darkness. How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. That's the power of storytelling. That's daring to activate the big ideas. Now you might think, wow, these are huge ideas, earth-shattering. How do I start? There's a simple way. You've already started. with your hats. You all look adorable, by the way. Your hats are already engaging you in the most important part of storytelling, which is recognizing that we are connected, recognizing that we are a shared humanity. Let me give you an example. The simplest of storytelling every day happens in greetings, right? We walk by each other. And in America, this is what we say. Hey, what's going on? Right? Hey, what's up? Let's make sure we don't tell each other stories. What a crime. What a crime. What a missed opportunity for storytelling. The Tibetan phrase, namaste. What does that mean? This is a greeting. In Indian, Sanskrit, Tibet. What does that mean? I recognize the power of the world, the power of God in you. You recognize the power of the world in me. When we recognize that at the same place, we are one. A lot better of a greeting than, hey, how are you, right? Namaste. Ubuntu. This is Nelson Mandela's credo. Ubuntu, after almost 4 decades of being incarcerated during apartheid in South Africa, came out to his captors, looked them in the face. We might think anger, right? He says, Ubuntu, I recognize the me in you. We are the same. It's more than forgiveness. That great Western New Yorker, James Cameron, right? He created Avatar. And what did the Na'vi say to each other? They say, I see you. Now, they weren't saying, I visually see you. The Na'vi were saying, I see me in you. I recognize the shared humanity in all of us. And my favorite, from my newly adopted second home, the beautiful country of Rwanda, which I'll take you to in a moment. This is how they greet each other. They put their hands in the air, open heart, big smile on the face, and they say, Muraho, Muraho. And Muraho in Kinyarwanda, the native language of Rwanda, means you're here. I celebrate your presence. Will you please look to your partner, to the person next to you? It doesn't have to be your partner. It is going to be in a moment. Put your hands up, open your heart, big smile, and give a Muraho to each other. Muraho, Muraho. That's open, right? That's the polar opposite of, hey, how you doing? Right? Muraho, Muraho. It's hard to be unhappy in Rwanda. You might break some assumptions, isn't it? So this all ties into the first place, the foundation of all storytelling, which is essential. Not building a place so people can buy tickets and be entertained or not. No, storytelling, our shared humanity. We must agree on that. You were already involved in that. That was a beautiful circle you made. That's essential. The oldest shape in the world, the circle, around the campfire, the ritual, the grabbing of hands. That's how we start every acting class at Buffalo State. We grab hands, we take a breath in. We commit to the sacredness of community, of our shared humanity. So, the theater guy is going to get a little scientific on you, okay? According to the Human Genome Project, we are 99.9% made of the same genetic material. 99.9%. That means 1/10 of 1% difference. So if you think about all the madness in the world, all the separation, all the divisionism, all the genocide, it's about a supposed 1/10 of 1%. So that means, as a theater professor, I'm 99.9% made of the same stuff as Shakespeare. That is cool. Let's see who else I can be part of. Well, you too, you're 99.9% made of the same, I see smiles, I'd be smiling too. Oh yeah, I'm made of the same stuff as Mother Teresa. Fantastic. Let's see who else we can connect you to. Oh, he's all right. Right, Gandhi, you are 99.9% made of the same stuff. It's scientific, proved. 99.9% made of the same stuff as Rosa Parks, standing up. That was you, at least 99.9% you, who said, no, I will not sit at the back of the bus. That's you, feeling pretty good about yourself, huh? I'm a basketball fan. I'm from Los Angeles. Give me a break. I'm 99.9% the same as Kobe Bryant. Now, those of you who have seen my game, don't say anything. But let me just believe, let me just relish in the fact that I'm 99.9% made of the same stuff as Kobe Bryant. Congratulations, you just got an Academy Award. You are 99.9% the same as Meryl Streep and Lady Gaga. I'm not 100% sure she's 100% human, but if she is, you are 99.9%. That's the only clothed picture I could find for you. Well, let's keep going in our little shared humanity. Bloody Mary, Queen of Scots. I know it's easier to be about Kobe, isn't it? 99.9% Joseph Stalin. Russia's forced famine, 7 million exterminated. You're 99.9% the same as Joseph Stalin. Adolf Hitler, I'm a Jewish American. In order to fully be invested in the storytelling process, I must commit to shared humanity. I'm 99.9% made of the same stuff as him. Otherwise, it's just fun and games. Pol Pot exterminated nearly 21% of the Cambodian population in Vietnam. I'm 99.9% the same as him. That's just understanding our shared humanity. Saddam Hussein, the Ku Klux Klan, Charles Manson. Ouch, right? If we're going to go shared humanity, we are shared humanity. There is no them. It is all us. When I went to Rwanda, it would be very easy for me to say, how could they do that to each other? It's a whole different storytelling proposition to imagine, how could I do that to my fellow human being? But we must admit our shared humanity if we are to tell good stories. Does that mean I'm 99.9% James Cameron's Navi? Part of me would like to think so. Can't guarantee it, fictional character. But I can guarantee this. It does me great joy to admit to you that I am 99.9% made of the same stuff as Anne Frank, a little girl who had the audacity to dream of a better life in the midst of darkness. She was irascible, she was talkative, high-spirited, angry about her mom, little upset about menstruating. Sounds like a little girl, right? But we owe it to her. We owe it to all those big storytellers to complete their ideas. What an amazing writer she was. She is. You know, the growth of the Anne Frank project can be attributed to a lot of people, but I really say it's about her. The spirit of the Anne Frank project is the spirit of its namesake. Irascible, feisty, talkative, rude sometimes, but always telling stories. So how did we do it? Well, I'm a storyteller. I'm a theater professor. So we did a production of The Diary of Anne Frank. You look at this first picture, you may say, okay, good lighting, looks pretty traditional. That looks like Anne Frank, I know. But we were surprised to hear that our students were disconnected from Anne Frank, the girl. They thought of her as this celebrity of the genocide. She wasn't this little girl really working to be a little girl. So we thought, how could we diversify this? Long story short, we ended up double casting our Anne Frank. We had two Annes. We had our Jewish, German, Dutch Anne, but we also had our Rwandan Anne. And our Rwandan Anne was imagining she was a little Tutsi girl hiding from Hutu extremists in 1994, during one of the most awful genocides ever known to humankind. Same words, different genocide. Right next to each other. I was terrified. You know, as a Jewish kid from LA doing theater, I'm not supposed to mess with that play. And Fiddler on the Roof, I can't do anything with that too. So two things happened. One, when we first heard both of them sharing the diary, we were thrilled artistically. And then my heart went plop. How could this work so well? How could this work so well? We should have had a Bosnian Anne. We should have had an Armenian Anne, a Palestinian, an Israeli, a Vietnamese. Should have had 50 Annes up there. There is an Anne Frank in every genocide. Well, as we know about stories, right? Good stories create more good stories. You've been there before, right? You've told a story and then someone says, whoa, wait, I have this really great story. And we jump on each other. That's how we build plays. That's how we build villages, how we build communities, storytelling. So storytelling creates more storytelling. Let me introduce you to someone who came into our life. This is Sophia Veffer. She went to school, she's from Western New York. She went to the same school as Anne Frank, 15 different hiding places, eventually discovered by the Nazis. She went to Westerbork and then Bergen-Belsen, saw the horrors of all horrors. She came out a hippie, just wanting to change the world. She connected to us through rehearsals. Let me introduce you to Rwanda's Anne Frank. This is Immaculée Ilibagiza. I just love to say her name. Immaculée Ilibagiza. Immaculée, her whole family was murdered. She's a Tutsi. in 1994, she stood in a bathroom with 5 other Tutsi women praying that they would not come and find her, the Hutu extremists. I've said Hutu extremists a couple times. Not all Hutu are Hutu extremists. Not all Germans are Nazis. So she's in there hoping, just with her Bible and her rosary beads, hid by a Hutu pastor, by a bookcase, just like Anne Frank. She was liberated. Rwanda was liberated. She came out. And in African custom, you can meet the person, if the police find them, who did the murdering, who did the stealing. So they found the man who murdered her family. And she came up to him. She could have done anything she wanted. She could have gouged his eyes out. She could have told him terrible things about himself, but she didn't. She looked at him square in the eyes and says, "I forgive you." I want to be like her when I grow up. I forgive you. She came to Buffalo State because in 2009, this play could not be contained. This was in 2006 we did the play. 2009, the play was dying to become something more. Sophia said, in her beautiful Dutch accent, "Shouldn't we get the cast together?" I said, "Yeah, we should. Maybe to celebrate Anne's would-be 80th birthday." She also goes to Wegmans all the time. I said, that'd be a great idea. So an English professor heard about it and said, I have some poetry from the Holocaust I'd like to do. Some of our drumming friends came from the music department. I said, hold on, we have a conference. I contacted some donors, principally SUNY in Albany. They do have money. And they financed our first Anne Frank Project conference. We had over 1,000 students show up, ravenous. I had to kick them out of the theater. All they wanted to do was wrestle with the big ideas. A big part of the Anne Frank Project is we have students, faculty, staff, community members who present sessions on intolerance, bias, hatred, genocide, what have you. But the crucial part is they tell stories together. Halfway through each session, we stop and we have dialogue. The students get to talk to Sophia. They get to talk to Immaculée. So there are stories being told. And students aren't shelving the peace process. They're already part of the peace process. So if there's a brand new play, they are invested on stage in the play. So they are part of the peace process, the reconciliation process. In 2009, we did one day, 1,000 students. 2010, 3 days, 4,000 students. This past September, 3 days, over 5,000 students. Our keynote speaker was live via video streaming from Rwanda. They did a performance for our students. 5,000 students. That says something positive about storytelling and this generation coming. This generation coming wants to make change. How do we do it? Storytelling. So obviously I talked about it, I had researched it. I'm not a professor that likes to live in the library. I needed to go to the source. Can anybody find Rwanda on that map? Got to squint your eyes. It's right where it says Kigali. Teeny little country, like the Israel of Africa. About the size of Maryland. There's a little blow up of it. I went there with my dear friend Carl Wilkins, who's the only American that stayed in Rwanda during the genocide. That's a whole nother TED Talk. But I want to tell you Rwanda's story. Rwanda has a story of dichotomies, of intense beauty, and awful horrors, all packaged together. What storytelling? What storytelling? As you fly over, you see this, oceans of tea and coffee in the most fertile land I have ever seen. It's the most beautiful country I have ever seen. The land of 1,000 hills, 1000 collines, that's the name of Hotel Rwanda now. There's a saying all over the continent of Africa, which is loosely translated, God spends his days everywhere during the day, but he sleeps in Rwanda. That picture will give you a sense of it. The gorillas are no dummies. They picked the most beautiful spot on earth. It's an incredible place. So sandwiched with this beauty of the terrain, this fertile, fertile land, listen, they don't have oil. They have coffee and tea. I'm happy to talk to you later on, but that's a central reason why the world did not get involved in 1994. Nobody bombs countries for coffee. So the horrors of the Rwanda genocide. Don't have time to get into the history and to the makings of it, but it wasn't spontaneous. No genocide is spontaneous. It is systematic, it is structured, and it is sponsored in the planning for a long time. But let me just give you an overview. 1 million Tutsi were murdered. In how long? 100 days. Do the math. That's 10,000 a day. 10,000 a day. 1994, that's our dime. We were alive and well. And how did they do it? They didn't have the advancement of Hitler's killing machine, the concentration camps. They did it with machete. Think about that. 10,000 a day. I talked to you about systematic, structured, sponsored. Those are three really important elements of the story of a successful genocide. The most important, the one I want to bring to you right now, is good people must do nothing. That's how genocides happen. Good people must do nothing. That happened in '94. They're called bystanders. Most dangerous part of any genocide equation. Good people doing nothing. That was essential, and that happened. Good people didn't tell their stories. I told you, beautiful land, horrific events. And here, that's the commodity of Rwanda. The capital of Rwanda are the beautiful people. I said to Carl after our first day, I think their default is joy. I've never seen an unhappy person. We have this assumption, right? Africa is this UNICEF commercial with snotty-nosed kids asking for money. No, it's not. Rwanda is a beautiful country with beautiful people. The kids come up to you. You might see that I look different than most of them. I was one of the few tall white guys around. And kids do come up to you, but to take your hand. I will be your escort, Mr. Mazuga. Foreigner, tall white man. The beautiful children, each with incredible stories and storytelling, right? That's universal. The universal story. These are girls who just came up to us in the car and just looked at us. Maraho. Maraho. Let me tell you a story, a very specific story about a young boy named Patrick. In the center of Kigali, there's this beautiful museum called the Kigali Memorial Center, built by the Aegis Trust Foundation. Incredible space. But it's the genocide in 1994 told by Rwandans. Not filtered, told by Rwandans for Rwandans. What an honor it was to go there. This room is where all the children were, whose stories did not have a chance to be finished. This is Patrick. This is a room filled with pictures. Now, this is probably a wealthy family because they had a camera. And here's what it says on a plaque right beneath each one of the children. This was Patrick Gashugi Shimirwa. His favorite sport was riding his bicycle. His favorite food, chips, meat, and eggs. His favorite person, best friend, Elian, his sister. Behavior, a quiet, well-behaved boy. Cause of death, machete. 5 years old. 5 years old, surrounded. Imagine being in a room surrounded by those stories. I was literally brought to my knees and saying, I want to tell your stories. Someone has to tell their stories. And there are Patricks and Anne Franks in every atrocity. In these adult messes that were created, these children. So I was fortunate. I was able to go to the schools, a really small village called Nyamata. And I met with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teaching royalty, I call them. They've been teaching for 50 years. And I asked them with my hands like that, right? I asked them, how do you teach this stuff? This is part of your folklore. I know Rwanda is much more than the genocide, but how do you teach this? Do you use theater? I wanted to see if I could help. Do you use theater? Do you music? Do you not? They kept looking at me, and it wasn't a language issue. They said they didn't understand me. And I said, well, show me, show me. So I went to a class, and the kids come in, and how do they start? Stomping and clapping. Stomping and clapping. That's their storytelling. It's theater. What else? They started singing. And they draw on the sand, and they draw on the dirt. So art was so interwoven in their communication. Storytelling was so interwoven in their teaching, they thought it was odd that I would even ask. And when I asked them about it, they said, how do you use theater in America? I said, well, we sell tickets and people come in and they either like it or don't. They're like, that's absurd. Why would you waste that opportunity? Listen, I love a good entertaining vehicle. But this really tapped something with my students and I. This is a small school in the Congo. The Congo is probably the most dangerous place on earth. I know my wife loves to hear that I went there. Most dangerous place on the planet. for lots of reasons. You probably have heard that there's a terrible atrocity in Congo, and they're not random. It is the vicious sexual abuse of women throughout the Congo, trying to exterminate a population via rape. These are their children. How did they greet me? I came to play with them. Mommy is being taken care of at these hospitals. We came to play, we came to bring books. Dr. Seuss. How did they greet us? With song and dance. With song and dance. Storytelling. I'm the guy in the white shirt, if you can't tell. Incredible experience. So what do those kids do now? Theater is so interwoven, storytelling is so interwoven in the Rwanda story that we met up with these incredible theater professionals and students who are bound to the theater process. Masharika Theater Company, Ishio Performing Arts Center. We now have regular exchanges with them over the internet. And I'm proud to tell you that in January, I'll be bringing my first group of students to Rwanda and maybe the Congo, because my 6 students and 6 Rwandan students are going to collaborate culturally, physically, emotionally, and artistically to create their own story. They're going to create a play together in 2 weeks. And at the end of those 2 weeks, they're going to perform it in Kigali, which is the capital of Rwanda. And then when we leave, the Rwandan students are going to take it to the schools, take it to the villages. Undoubtedly, it will be about unity, hope, reconciliation. And our students are going to take it to Buffalo Public Schools to ignite our shared humanity, the power of communication, the power of storytelling. Strange, right? I found Anne Frank in Rwanda, of all places. Anne Frank is everywhere. So what's next for the Anne Frank project? We'll go to Vietnam. We'll go to Bosnia. And we'll continue to create, find, and tell stories. Stories matter. So next time you pass somebody, don't just give them a little grunt. Namaste. Right? Namaste. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he needed no permission to say this, and you need no permission to tell stories. In the end, we will not remember the voices of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. We need no permission to tell stories. We need to learn to tell them better. We need to signify their beauty, and we need to do it consciously, and we need to celebrate our shared humanity through the storytelling process. Don't be silent. Tell your stories. Namaste. Ubuntu. I see you. Maraho. Thank you very much.